Hello everyone, hope you're all having a great day, and today I'm going to be talking about the EU HCS Open Series 1 that took place on the 4th of February. For anyone who's not aware, the new season of HCS did start recently in the last few weeks, and we've already had two Open Cups here in EU take place, so I just thought I'd kind of recap the first one, make another video here soon recapping the second one, and then we already have the third Open Series taking place this weekend, so we'll be nice and caught up hopefully by then. And then, if you guys enjoy this kind of thing, then I can kind of make it a kind of a habit to recap these Open Series week by week, then the qualifiers as well that are coming up, and just kind of keep you guys up to date with what's taking place in EU Halo and some of the storylines to look out for, some of the teams to look out for, and yeah, just kind of give you guys a bit of a breakdown week by week. So yeah, we'll kick off with EU HCS Open Series 1. As you can see on the screen, I've got the standings here brought up for you. And yeah, I won't go through all the kind of teams roster by roster, as we'll be here all day, but I'll kind of go through some of the rosters as I go through the bracket. So first place was Foe, second place Quadrant, third place Anita Max Win, fourth place Jump Out Gang, then top 6 you got BH3 in the Last Dance, and then top 8 you got Pharmaceutical and Cat Smile Academy. I won't go through all the rest of the placings, but you can have a look on the Facebook website if you're curious to see the kind of full placements in the end. But we'll have a quick look at the bracket, and I'll just kind of try to highlight some of the matches that I think are kind of notable, maybe a few upsets here and there, or some of the teams that I was a little bit surprised to see. So as you expect, the first thing we're seeing is Quadrant flying through the winners bracket. Not probably too surprising to most people, but as we go down a little bit, the first match that I really wanted to talk about is this Anita Max Win versus Jump Out Gang match. This was winners bracket round 4, and I'm sure you probably aren't quite sure the roster, so I'll bring them up here. So Anita Max Win 2-0'd Jump Out Gang here. And if you have a quick look at the roster, Desire, Nemains, Ninja, and then Respectful to round out that team. And that team, to me, when I saw that team signed up, I was just really excited to kind of see how they get on, because for anyone who's not aware, obviously Desire on that pharmaceutical roster recently at the Blackpool LAN got top 8. Nemains as well, I think got top 6 on the team with Squashy, Lunny and Wafts. And then Ninja is a bit more of a kind of new player to the EU Halo scene, but he competed a little bit at the start of the game, took a kind of massive break away from Halo. Only really came back in the kind of last few months, and I think has impressed a lot of people with his kind of talent and his kind of skill ceiling in this game. And thankfully he's landed himself with a chance on this kind of roster here, and Respectful, I think, rounding out this team is a really interesting kind of move for him, because for anyone who's not aware of Respectful, he was basically considered arguably the best player in Halo 5 in Europe. And then even when this game came out, Halo Infinite, he was on that Na'Vi roster at the start of the game, then ended up being on that Ascend roster, which won HCS Valencia back in 2022. So he's had a monster career in EU Halo, to be honest, just Halo generally. So for him to kind of take a risk on these newer players, I'm not really quite sure if that's a kind of a forced circumstance or if that's just something that he's chosen to do. But I think it's really refreshing personally to see Respectful kind of take a chance on these newer players. So I was kind of really curious to see how this team would get on. I think for them to kind of have their first big test here against a team like Jump Out Gang, which is, you look at the names on that roster, Kimbo, Zove, Milsey have had a lot of success in this game. Hollers as well has had a decent amount of success in this game, and just kind of Halo generally over the years. So it's a really strong roster, and I think for them to 2-0 that team, obviously best of threes can be a bit awkward sometimes, but I think that's a really strong statement from them early on the bracket. And then we move through the rest of the bracket. I'll just continue scrolling down, and you can see Pharmaceutical and the Old Guard was 2-1. And keep going, you got the Last Dance, BH3 Cat Smile Academy. I've got a few of these matches brought up. So yeah, BH3 Cat Smile Academy. So BH3 Sunrise, Bastos, Knuckles and Cali. This roster definitely changed quite a bit since Blackpool. I think at Blackpool they had Asko and Yume, so they've now replaced them with Knuckles and Cali, able to 2-0 Cat Smile Academy. I think there's a bit more of a kind of makeshift roster by the look of it. I know Warlord at the moment is kind of just waiting for Looney to come back. I think he's kind of away at the moment, so just waiting for Looney to come back, and then I'm sure they'll kind of work their team out for the season. So I think right now Warlord just kind of makeshifting with some of these players. But Marine, Infinity, Warlord, Deco, very strong roster. So I think for BH3, they got their new look team, 2-0 that kind of team. I think that's a good start for them in the tournament. And then, like I was saying about the Last Dance BH3, this Last Dance roster, only one change from the most recent LAN at the Europa Halo Blackpool event. It seems they've actually replaced Milsey with Shad, which Shad had quite a strong career already in Halo Infinite, especially on that Quadrant roster. So that's a solid pickup for them, and I think they'd be expecting as the kind of third best team in Europe to beat a team like BH3. So maybe not too surprising in that one. And then I will just bring back the bracket. So like I say, those are the kind of results that I think are kind of semi-notable so far in the winners bracket kind of side of things, as We then move on a little bit further on in the bracket, and you'll see Foe 2-0'd the last dance. I don't think that's too kind of surprising for anyone. Obviously, Foe is that former Na'Vi roster with Snipe Drone, Mighties, Jimbo, and now Wootum as the fourth. And then on the other side of the winners bracket, we got Quadrant 2-0ing Anita Max win. Kind of same story again. Obviously, Anita Max win looking good so far, but don't think it's too surprising really that Quadrant are able to 2-0 them. And then that will bring us all the way to the winners bracket final. And this one went all the way to a game 5. And it was Quadrant, though, in the end that got the victory 3-2. So that was then going to put them on the winners side of the grand final. So we'll move on now to the lower bracket. And like I say, kind of similar thing here. Won't have time to go through all the matches, but I'll just kind of highlight some of the more notable ones. And I think kind of lower bracket, mainly kind of just going as expected for the most part. I think it's only when you really start getting to the kind of later rounds of the lower bracket that things maybe start getting a little bit more interesting. So you'll see here, I think, Pharmaceutical versus BH3. That one, I think, 2-0 to BH3. Strong result from them. Let's have a quick look. Cat Smile Academy losing 2-1 to Jump Out Gang. I mean, that's a good result for Cat Smile Academy, so I'll just bring those two up quickly. So, Pharmaceutical for this cup was Baxter, Riots, Clonely, and Lunny. I mean, that's a really strong roster on paper. I think, to be honest, though, Riots, I'm guessing, probably hasn't played the game too much recently, despite, being obviously a big name in the scene. I mean, Clonely been a really strong player in this game, along with Baxter getting top 8 at the most recent LAN. Obviously, I said about Lunny earlier on getting top 6. So this is a strong roster, and I think this is a good test for BH3 and kind of seeing how this new roster was kind of getting on. So I think for them to 2-0 that team, I think that's a good job from them. And then in this match as well, we had Jump Out Gang versus Cat Smile Academy. So I was saying about the Cat Smile Academy team, being a bit of a kind of makeshift team, not really too sure what to expect from them. So I think for them to even just take a game against this Jump Out Gang roster is impressive. But I think looking at this kind of team, I'd expect them to be able to beat Cat Smile Academy. So I guess nice to see they bounce back from their winners bracket loss, against Anita Max win. So then we'll go back to the losers bracket. And you'll see on the upper side, Anita Max win are actually able to knock out BH3 Esports 2-0 in this match. And I think, I mean, for Anita Max win to be able to beat Jump Out Gang earlier on in winners bracket was really impressive. I think them obviously losing to Quadrant didn't really surprise anyone. So for them to bounce back and have another strong result here, beating a team like BH3 2-0, I think really kind of impressive from their point of view. And then on the other side here, in loose bracket round 8, we had Jump Out Gang versus The Last Dance. And I'll be honest, this one really surprised me. Because I think, for anyone who saw Blackpool recently, or just kind of been following EU Halo, I think this Last Dance roster have been the kind of staple third best team in Europe. Like, it's always kind of been Quadrant, Na'Vi, now Foe as the kind of top 2 solid. And then the Last Dance have been kind of comfortably locking down that third place spot. So for them to get knocked out here 2-1 and finish top 6 in week 1, I think that was really surprising for me and probably a lot of other people. And yeah, I mean, you gotta think maybe might have made them kind of think about, have they made the right choice, replacing Millsy with Shad. I think, as the weeks go by, I think we'll find out a little bit more. Obviously, it's only one cup, it's only a best of 3, these things can happen. But I think from a Jump Out Gang point of view, that's a really, really kind of strong result and really impressive for them. So I'm sure they'll be really pleased with that one. And then that will now bring us to losers bracket round 9, aka the losers bracket semi-finals. This is top 4 already. And it was actually Anita Max win. They were able to beat Jump Out Gang 3-1. And I mean, this for me kind of rounds out what a great first tournament these guys had together. I mean, for Anita Max win, especially the likes of Ninja, who's kind of not really had a lot of kind of opportunities on these kind of top level rosters, to be able to go toe to toe against a team like Jump Out Gang, beat them twice in one cup. Keeping in mind that Jump Out Gang had just beat The Last Dance, who was the kind of staple third best team. I think this is a really, really strong result for Anita Max win, locking down that third spot. Respectful kind of, I guess, confirming maybe to some people that he's made the right choice, maybe taking a chance on some of these newer players here. Kind of opting against the more experienced players can be a bit risky sometimes, but I think, for them to already get third guaranteed in this cup off the back of this win was really, really impressive from their point of view. And then you'll see that brings us to the losers bracket final, and here's where things maybe get a bit more predictable. You can see Foe able to 3-0 Anita Max win. I was actually lucky enough to commentate this series, and I mean, it was comfortable for Foe, as you'd expect, but I think some of the games got a little bit dicey in parts. I think the game 1 especially was a CTF game, and I think Anita Max win were actually able to get the first cap on the board. So I think, it wasn't like a total steamroll. I think Anita Max win put up a decent fight, and I think I remember Respectful especially kind of playing really, really well. So I think they had a kind of good accounting for themselves overall when Max win, kind of finishing third, and I think for them to be able to lock down that third place spot, I think really really impressive. So I think they should be very very pleased with themselves, and that is now going to bring us to the grand finals as I switch over. And it was obviously, as you can see here, it went all the way to a bracket reset, and this was an incredible series to watch. I mean, Quadrant took a 2-0 lead, I think, in the first best of 5, and I was commentating this, and in my head I was like, oh, looks like Quadrant are maintaining their dominance. Obviously Quadrant recently lost Legend to SSG, and they picked up Glory as a replacement, and Foe recently picked up Wootum to kind of replace Glory, and I was kind of thinking, well, even without Legend, look how good Quadrant are doing. They win the winners bracket final, they're about to 3-0 Foe in the finals, and just as I say that, the reverse sweep happened, and it was an incredible reverse sweep. I mean, some of the comebacks in the games that Foe had to beat Quadrant in his first best of 5 was just immense. I think Quadrant actually won the first game of this series 5-0 on Aquarius flag. So, for Foe to kind of have that mental bounce back and find a way to win this series was really really impressive. So that really kind of kicked things off, and then you see in the second best of 5 it was a straight 3-0 for Foe, which as a result meant that they were crowned the champions of week 1. So yeah, I mean, in the end, Foe, I mean, the way they won it was really really impressive, very entertaining to watch. But I think for them, putting down a marker in week 1, I mean, for anyone who kind of kept track of EU Halo, especially the last season, I think the storyline that really developed was Quadrant are the kind of EU Halo powerhouse. They're like, getting third in America, beating Optic. They obviously won the most recent Europe Halo Blackpool LAN. I think they were the kind of staple first place team in EU Halo in the kind of last season. So, to start off Open Series 1 Foe, putting down the marker, beating Quadrant in 2 series back to back, I think, really great job from them. And like I say, I'll get into week 2 in the next video, but I think already a few kind of interesting storylines developing. I think, Foe Quadrant we expect to kind of be battling back and forth for first and second. But for me, the thing that's really interesting is this kind of whole storyline here in the kind of 3rd to 6th kind of bracket, because a Max win getting 3rd surprised me a bit. I think the Last Dance will be thinking they can get 3rd, Jump Out Gang will be thinking they can get 3rd, and a team I've not even touched on is Bittersweet. I mean, Warlord, Looney, I think once they get a 3rd and a 4th on that team and they get playing again, I think they'll be thinking about battling for 3rd. So I think this kind of 3rd to 8th bracket at the moment is really interesting, and I think I'm really kind of curious to keep an eye on that. But like I say, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a little bit of a kind of ramble. I didn't really write a script for this, but I hope you guys enjoyed the recap, and I'll try to get a recap out for week 2, and then like I say, this weekend will be week 3, so I'll try and make it a little bit more of a kind of consistent thing, and maybe improve on things as we go along. But I'd appreciate if you guys could subscribe to the channel, maybe leave a like on the video, let me know in the comments anything you'd like to see maybe done differently next time. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.